person. What is the connection with Mothman? What is really going on? There has to be some reason why people are seeing him. That's the part I don't understand.
I think it's a real phenomenon. I think it either is a demon, which I'm not too inclined to believe, or it's something that we've always thought of as a demon. So I think it's otherworldly. Let me put it that way. I think it's otherworldly. It's either not of our dimension completely, or like maybe the shadow people, or it is something from another planet. I have to be honest with you. If I had seen what James had seen, the next spirit I would have seen would have been a bottle of vodka. I'm not kidding. I mean, when you see dead people walking, I don't know how. I have to ask James, how did you react to that?
I'm used to it. But listen, that's nothing. Listen, I want to tell you something. I've faced real evil incarnate before to evict them from houses. I had one last year that looked identical to the face of Jeepers Creepers in a crawl space in an attic. And I'm on all fours, and I could feel it to my left. I turned to look at it, and it looked right at me, dead in the eyes of death, 3 feet away, and it bum rushed me. And this thing looked just like Jeepers Creepers. I mean, the most evilest thing. And it knocked me right off my all fours, knocked me right over, and went right out the crawl space. And the wife was standing out there, and she didn't see it, but she felt it, and she was like, "What was that?" And I was all just a draft. I didn't want to scare her any worse, but the stuff I've seen is awful.
Okay, we need to go on break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. We got Rob on. We're talking about, Mothman.
He had an old lady named Petula who packed an automatic 45 gun. They had just come up from California where they'd shot 6 cops for fun. He thought it was the best there was down the interstate he saw, till the day he tangled with the county sheriff, who they all call 104. It was late on a Thursday evening, and Jake, he was feeling kind of mean, cause he just run out of his favorite drug, the one called amphetamine. So we started up to Petula, and he said, "Say, baby, let's split. There's a little gas station on down the road that might be fun to hit." So they drove up to the station, and they both jumped off of Jake's ride. They were up to derision at Jake's decision as they both saw to the inside. The attendant, he was an old man, and he didn't think it very funny. When Petula pulled out that great big gun, said, "Honey, give me all your money." Well, the old man opened up the cash drawer, and Jake grabbed the money and ran. With Petula out the door to the big chop collar that was parked on the center kickstand. They headed out for the 4-lane, and they thought it was lots of fun. With Jake on his hog, with Petula the dog, with the automatic 45 gun. Jake, he thought it was the best there was down the interstate he saw, till the day he tangled with the county sheriff, who they all call 104.
Listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. A big shout out to Metatron Power and Light. They're going to be going out tomorrow up and down the corridor of I-5 to the truck stops, handing out some of their albums, of their latest album. And they're also going to be telling people, they need to listen to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. Again, a big shout out to them. You can find their music where you can buy it on our website at nightdreamstalkradio.com. We got a great guest. I can tell you every time Rob is on our show, I tell you what, the numbers just go up drastically. That says something. Because some guests you get on the air and you wonder why you're even there talking, because the next morning you go on the internet and you look on your server and you find out, oh, gee, I could have stayed and watched TV. But no, when Rob is on, the numbers go crazy. Again, I hear from the radio stations, too. They get a lot of phone calls. When Rob is on, he's a great storyteller, number one. He writes great books, number two. Number three, he went swimming in a canal with alligators. Are you still there, Rob?
Yes, I am. The alligator did not get me.
Yeah, you're brave. I tell you what, though, when you realized there was alligators in there, you didn't go back there swimming anymore, did you?
No, I wasn't brave. I was stupid. I just thought alligators didn't swim in salt or brackish water. If I had known that, I wouldn't have done it. Again, I'm not one to stand around. If I see a Mothman, I'm pretty much quick to run the other way. Again, with James, I don't know how he can... if I had just one of those incidents that he describes, I don't think I'd be going back into any dark crawl spaces anywhere anytime soon. As far as graveyards go, I can only cemetery there.
Well, I think James. I think James has told me he's kind of like backed off because he said it. If I'm right, tell me if I'm right, James. You told me it was taking a mental toll on your health.
Oh my God! Listen, Lorraine Warren once said it best. She said every time she would go into these places to help people, it would take a piece of you. Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I just recently retired from boots on the ground. I just can't do it no more. You know, it's just too much. The post-traumatic stress, the nightmares, and on. But I've been seeing spirits since age 3. I used to play with the little Indian boy every day, but he would never come in the house. And he said he was afraid of the guy in the house. Well, there was a spirit in the house of an old man who was evil, mean. I was 3 years old, and the spirit in the house pushed me down the steps and busted out my front teeth. I mean, he was bad. But, yeah, I've been seeing stuff a long time.
Wow. Yeah, that wouldn't throw me to do that or see that. In fact, if I saw that sort of thing in my life as sort of a normal routine, I doubt if I'd go researching it particularly. I think I'd probably want to go the other way. I don't know if you ever watched the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves, but there were 2 sisters, and one of them just refused the whole psychic thing. She wanted nothing to do with it. She didn't want to see it. I think that's the way I would be.
Well, the thing with that, everybody, here's a theory. Everybody can play basketball, but not everybody can be Michael Jordan. So, like, I could try to ignore that stuff like I did about the first 20 years of my life, but it just didn't work. It got to a point where you can't ignore it. You're either going to get annihilated and bum rushed with spirits and taken over, or you're going to have to grip it by the horns and learn to deal with it and control them and protect yourself. So that's the route I took.
Yeah, I imagine so. Oh, I'm switching the subject here, but I just remember one of the things. In the Chicago reports, several times they said that when the thing walked, it sort of waddled. Now, at Point Pleasant, they said that when the thing walked, it walked sort of like a penguin. It's, oddly, for me, it's these little details, these little aspects of it that really drive it home for me. If people were lying, it's the little details that they mess up on. But when people describe these things so much alike, it's such vastly different areas at different times. I mean, Point Pleasant was 1966. The sightings in Chicago didn't start till 2011, and yet they're so amazingly alike, the Point Pleasant ones, that you have to wonder if it isn't true. Either these people have studied long and hard and are lying through their teeth, or they're amazingly, and they'd have to be amazingly good at all the details, or they're telling the truth. I think they're telling the truth in most cases. Yes, some might be hysteria, some might be seeing a stork, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, have you ever seen a stork or a penguin or an owl? They really aren't 6 or 7 feet tall, so how do you mistake that for a Mothman? I mean, sometimes the skeptics' explanations are more bizarre and stupid, I think, than believing that the actual thing was witnessed.
Well, I will say one thing. This trucker in his email did say he didn't really notice the legs. He noticed the torso. He noticed the guy, it was tall. But, he doesn't describe anything about legs or any feet or anything like that.
It would depend on what you focus on. Most people focus on the eyes. If they're red and glowing and they're mesmerizing you, it's a bit like a cobra staring at you. I mean, there's the old myth that they hypnotize you, before they strike. It sounds almost something like that with these Mothmen.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, again, we have talked before when I've had you on, missing people. There's so many people going missing. Now, you can't contribute to all of it to, aliens and UFOs. Are people, is the world flat and they happen to find a short path to the side of the world and they're falling off of a flat world. I don't think so on that. But maybe there's some of these cryptics are involved with people missing. You know, you mentioned in cases like shoes off when they find the victim. I remember, you know, my friend on his radio show, he's no longer with us, but he had a guest on and they were talking about weird things about people, you know, how they died. And they weren't suicidal type of people, but they were found with no shoes on. If somebody's going to commit suicide, you know, why would they take their clothes off? Or why would they take their shoes off? And then you can't find any trace of their shoes. Or it's just weird things.
Well, some people, when they commit suicide, like walking to the ocean, will remove all their clothes. The authorities seem to think it's because they just want to go completely into the next life, not carrying anything from this life. Actually, they'd be better off to wear the clothes. It would help drag them down the water once they were wet. But, you know, that's their choice. It's their death. But, no, just to have the shoes missing or some of their clothes missing, that's the weird part. It's almost as if they were too warm or something was going on. And David Paulides talks about this fact that so often this is the case when they are found. And how are they getting from point A to point B so far away in such a quick amount of time when they're children? Even a grown adult would be hard-pressed to travel 15 miles up a mountainside in 24 hours or less. I mean, it just doesn't seem possible. And they can tell how long the person's been dead by doing the autopsy, pretty much. And usually it's of exposure. Or there are some other cases where there seem to be head injuries, but we just, again, there's so much about this world we don't know. I mean, we think we know it all, but we've barely begun to really explore the bottom of the oceans. We don't know what's down there. We don't know what creatures are down there to some extent. Again, we're amazed to find out that giant squids actually exist, and maybe the reason we've had legends of sea serpents. Does Loch Ness exist? I mean, the list of cryptids is a very long list. If you ever check it out, I mean, there's the Jersey Devil, there's sea serpents, there's Nessie, there's all sorts of creatures. The chupacabra, there's the chuchunya too, which is a large hominid, and then of course there's Bigfoot, Sasquatch. There's an awful lot of stuff that people are seeing out there. Everything from giant spiders to swamp creatures and monkey men. And even a Mongolian death worm. So
I don't know that one. What's a death worm? What's that one?
The Mongolian death worm?
Yeah.
It's a worm-like animal, quite large, and apparently exists in the Gobi Desert, and it kills people. And the name for it in Mongolian is Algoi or Orgoi Korkoi. And it reminds me so much of the movie. What was the name of the movie series?
Tremors.
Yep, Tremors.
The Tremors, yeah. But apparently the Mongolians believe there really is something like that. So, but there's everything from a skunk ape to the Yeti, a Yowie. I mean, Thunderbirds, Mothman, and so it's referred to as cryptozoology. There's a whole bunch of these creatures on land and sea and in air, the Thunderbird, you know. So, and the Jersey Devil does look somewhat like the Mothman, but the head is more horse-like. But it does have the bat wings and the cloven hoofs. Now, the Mothman is supposed to have more, like, large dog-sized feet, shaped like dog paw prints, sort of, but much deeper and with more extensive claws. So, it just depends on who you're talking to. And do remember, when people see these things, they're, as you said, they are in shock. They are amazed. They are out of their own depth. And their initial impressions may be colored by their inability to figure out what the heck it is they're looking at. You know, you always try to relate it to something you know, as I was mentioning. And sometimes there's just nothing you can relate it to.
Oh, yeah. Again, to this trucker, it sent me this long email. He thought it was another trucker dressed up in a costume at start. To the thing, you know, kind of like levitated off the ground and flew away. I don't think another trucker can, you know, has the ability to do that. But could you imagine the shock?
I hope not. I hope they don't have that ability. If they do, I hope they share it, because I'd love to be able to levitate and fly.